Hey guys, this is Andrew from Figure Fandom Review, and today we're going to be reviewing the Variable Action Heroes Roronoa Zoro from One Piece. So just quick heads up guys, over the week I did get sick and kind of lost my voice a little bit, so we're just going to try to power through the review, so forgive me if I sound a little strange. Now moving on, I've always wanted a good Zoro in my collection. I did get the SH Figure Arts Zoro from the Wano arc. Was not really pleased with it at all. That was before I actually even started doing reviews. So if you guys do want me to do a review, just leave a comment down below and I'll go ahead and do a review on that figure. But yeah, that figure, to put it bluntly, is not good. So I got this one. This is my first figure from Variable Action Heroes, and there's some good things with the figure. There are also some cons as well. So I have mixed feelings on this figure. There's things I like and things I very much don't like. So we're just gonna go ahead. We're gonna get him off the stand and let's get into it. All right? Okay. All right, guys. So once you get him out the packaging, this is exactly how he's gonna come. He will have his neutral face on him right there, without the bandana, as well as his two fists automatically attached. Which is standard for figures in general. So when I pick this character up, one of the first things I notice is really cool sculpt work for his robe. So the robe is kind of like a star here. It looks really good. And on top of that, there is shading throughout. So there's shading throughout the robe here, and all the crevices, which really makes it pop. There's also shading throughout the figure too on the flesh parts. So right in his back, in all the crevices, he has shading along the arms here. And if you have watched my SH Figure Arts Toto video, Aoi Toto, you will notice that this figure has shading on his face as opposed to that one. So if you want to see, I'll leave a link to that video up above if you guys want to check it out. But really cool that they added that so it matches, because unfortunately, like, if you were to look at his ears, you'll see that his ears are that's the real color of the plastic. It's a little hard to get it on camera, and with the lighting it kind of masks it a bit. But the ears, if you look at them, you'll see the true color of the plastic. So it's good that they actually added some shading to the face. So yeah, that's the first things you'll notice on it as far as the just aesthetic. It looks really good. It's it's Zoro, man. It's very good representation of the character. So that being said, though, how is articulation? So that's where we're going to get into it, and then unfortunately where we will find some weaknesses that the figure has. So let's move on to that. So getting to the articulation of the figure, this is where you have some good and bad. There's some really good range surprisingly for certain parts of this figure, and there's some issues also with the figure. So starting how we usually do, just going from the top. For a head pivot, you get a pretty decent range, to both sides. So there you go, right there. So not bad. Looking back is pretty good for the figure. At least I think so. Looking down is just as good, if not amazing. And of course, the figure can look to his right or the left. So you do have that. Now, for arm range, you get a really great arm range. So you do have 90 degree or greater than 90. Sorry, 90 is the gold standard, and anything above that is just added extra and is amazing. So you do have that for the figure. There is a bicep swivel right here, and there is double jointed elbow. Now, on the double jointed elbow, my figure, it's a bit loose. So right here is super loose. It's not very strong or sturdy. And I do have loose joints in the shoulder here as well. So you notice that? Like, see that? Yeah. So that is an issue I do have. Now, the butterfly joint is like a double-edged sword for this figure. The butterfly joint is amazing. Like, look at that, dude. That's ridiculous. That's like crazy range. Now, the problem is, look at that. That's gross looking. Like, the whole thing is coming out. It looks like he's been, like a sword sliced him right there, and his shoulder's just falling off. it's really, really noticeable. Like, that's the worst gapping I think I've ever seen on a figure. So yeah, kind of a problem. So from the front, looks great. And I mean, the range is awesome, but in the back, they just didn't even try to mask it in any ways. It's just like, yep, butterfly joints there. So that's kind of a problem. Now, going into his abdominals, the abdominal cut doesn't really give you a whole lot of range. It's, we'll bend him down a little bit, but usually they don't, to be fair. But this one just feels kind of limited. He can look back a little, not even. Yeah, it's barely anything that you get looking back with that abdominal cut there. Now, at the base of his waist, you do get your, good movement. So you do get a lot of movement downward. You get some movement, looking back. You do get movement going from side to side right here. So side to side is not bad. You do get some good movement. And of course, he does have abdominal twist as well. So he can twist and move his waist. So the waist movement's actually fairly decent. It's just the upper ab cut right here. It's just not that functional. So the lower waist is great. Upper ab cut is kind of meh. And by meh, I mean, yeah, it's a little bad. So moving down now, we get to the crazy part of this figure, which is his robe. You can move this top piece up a little bit, and I'll tell you why you're going to want to. It's so that you can get more range, and also just move this purple thing kind of to the side, and you can get more range out of his robe. So now his robe can move completely out to the side, and for funsies, he can do a full-on split. Like a full split, no problem. Like there it is, boom, all the way out. So great leg range, surprisingly. If this was Sanji, I wouldn't be surprised. But for Zoro to have this kind of leg range is kind of crazy. So for the legs, he does have a thigh swivel, or groin swivel, pretty much. The legs can bend, and you do get a at the knee. Sorry, you get a double jointed knee. And it works pretty good, actually, very good. So it gives him that kind of like when he's jumping poses, they look really nice for this figure. Now, for the ankles, you do get about that much tilt coming back and that much tilt going forward. And there isn't much ankle rock, and that's because this is on a ball. So it's on a ball peg. And the way this part of the figure, the plastic piece right there, the way that is around the top of the shoe, or it doesn't allow him to have too much range. So you're not going to get a whole lot of ankle rock, which is not good because, a lot of these figures, when you're making your poses, you have them with their kind of ankles like bent in as they're like, slashing or moving forward or whatnot. So yeah, so that's not that great. So for me, I definitely have a problem with some looseness for sure with this figure, as well as I have a problem with definite gapping. And in some cases, like for the waist, it's like the range isn't even there. So there's a couple issues with articulation of this figure. But like I said, then there's things it does great. Like those legs are amazing, and you wouldn't expect that. What is this called? The robe, sorry, forgive me. The robe is really good. It's actually stays out of the way of the leg, so you can kind of pose him. Look at that. I didn't even have to do anything. I just put the leg up and boom, robe was out the way. And then here, put it down. Want to move this leg out this way? Boom, no issues. Want him to kick his leg back? Look at that. Like that's crazy. You get a lot of range, but they just sucked on other parts of the figure. So it's just wild. Like this figure is great in some ways and not great in others. So that's kind of a letdown. But let's go ahead and let's move into the accessories, and that's where you will see some other aspects of the figure that are awesome and that suck. All right, so let's go forward. So for accessories, you do get his swords, his sword set, and particularly this is really his sheath for his 3 swords. I believe this is the new sword he got, Enma, he got from Wano, which is pretty cool, as well as his traditional white sword, which I don't know the name for, and the other sword as well. So yeah, I'm sorry, I don't know the name of the other two, but I do know at least Enma. So looking at these three swords is pretty cool. If those of you who have the SH Figure Arts Roronoa Zoro, you'll know that it's kind of annoying to put his swords in, and they don't really sit really well because you have to put them in the belt, and this ends up kind of getting scrunched around. Like, it's not very easy. They did a great job with this though, so I will say this. Like, there are cons with this figure, but the things it does well, it does very well. So it's just a peg. So you just peg this sword right into the side, and they make it so that it looks like the sash of his belt is going around the sword. So that is really, really good. It's a lot easier to do than the Figure Arts version, for sure. And for when you have a sword in his hand, these just get pulled out. So if he had this white sword in his mouth, you could just simply take that out, and then it looks like the sword is, out of his sheath. And I'll show you exactly what I mean by that when I show you the other accessories. So really cool. You can just kind of you can just kind of pull these out. Actually, there's a way to do that. Actually, you want to put this sword in here first, and they're also set up in such a way that you can't put the wrong sword in. So don't worry, they have different little notches on them, and then you could put, let's say, this one. Does it go this way? Yep, this way, and then you can put the white one. So the middle one must go on first, and then the other two can go on in any order you choose. All right, so let's go into the actual swords. And here we have his three swords right there. And what's cool is you see the design difference between them all. So you have, I think this is Enma, the one that's trying to always like suck the energy out of him. Right there, you have this other sword up in the middle. I don't know the name. And then you have the white one that he puts in his mouth. Really, really cool. I love the designs of them. They all have different, they have the different guards that they're supposed to have. Just beautiful swords, man. Really cool how they did this. So really good job on this accessory. For faces, we have his bandana neutral face. We also have his bandana sword wielding face. So you'll basically just push in the white sword into his mouth there, and it holds it. And then lastly, we have his non-bandana sword holding face as well. So, and just like the other one, you can simply just push it into the mouth and it just holds it. And here we have a bicep accessory. So normally Zoro wears his bandana on his arm, and when you do switch to the bandana headpieces, you should switch out the bandana off his arm, because it obviously wouldn't be there anymore, to this accessory right here. So that way when he wears his bandana, you can just simply plug in this accessory so that it looks like it's missing. For hands, you do get two relaxed hands right here, as well as you get two sword holding hands. Now the problem with these hands is that they're very, very loose. So what I mean is, if you put this sword, Enma, which is supposed to be in his right hand, in there, you do get that a lot. Like, if you move the hand, it will eventually, this sword drops in there. So it's pretty loose. So certain poses you have where you should be holding the sword close there, like look at that, should be right there, it just drops. So the only way you can get that to work is you gotta have to twist the sword a little bit in the hands, and then it'll hold it properly. So it doesn't work very well, because you're just supposed to be able to put them in there, and you would think they'd be tight enough to grip the sword properly, but that is not the case. Well, there you have it, guys. Variable Action Heroes Roronoa Zoro. For this figure, man, I have a lot of just mixed feelings. This is one of those figures that for every pro, I could give a con. Like the sculpt work and the shading are beautiful on the figure. However, there is huge gapping. Accessories are, the bicep accessory is very hard to put on. Hell, even the heads are hard to swap. You could say, the character has great articulation in the legs, the arms have, good articulation. Yeah, okay. But there's also the aspect of, the sword's not being held properly in the hands. It's sliding in and out. So it's one of those figures that there's always a pro and there's always a con that you can match it with. So for me, I'm gonna go ahead and rate this figure a 6 out of 10. Like, it's a beautiful figure just to look at. Like, if you have it posed and you're just gonna leave it like that, it's not a bad figure to, it's beautiful to look at. The only problem is if you're gonna constantly articulate this thing and you're gonna move it around, I found myself being more frustrated posing it than I was having fun posing it. And that's kind of the whole point of these figures, in my opinion. Is if I'm gonna take a figure that is meant to be articulated and move it around or repose it from time to time, I'm gonna want it to be fun to do. I'm not gonna want to be stressed out trying to do that. So that's why I gave it a 6 out of 10. So that's it for this review, guys. If you are new to my channel, go ahead and leave a comment. I do like to interact with all of you, and I do like that you can share your opinions, at least respectfully, of course. But I try my best to answer them as quickly as I can get to them. But if you have an opinion on this figure and it differs from mine, comment, please. Like I said, I do like to read them. So with that being said, of course, be safe, and as always, keep collecting. Later, guys.